Blockbuster trades are always one of the highlights of any season for any sport. At the time of the trade, us fans try to figure out who won the trade, who got fleeced, who's the most underrated player in the deal, along with any other question we can answer. One of those questions is, how will the trade affect the teams in the future? Well, what tends to be the case with blockbuster trades is they don't just affect the teams involved in the deal. They also affect other teams in the league. Well, back in the late 1990s, the Reds made the so-called deal of a lifetime, and now the Mets have Francisco Lindor. Alright, let's head back to 1985 for a prologue. But really quickly, I want to thank a Twitter user for recommending a certain topic in the video. I honestly can't find the tweet, but if I find it, it will be on screen. And if you have your own butterfly effect scenario you want me to cover, leave it down in the comments. On September 17th, 1985, the Indians and Rangers were fighting for the first overall pick in the 1986 draft, despite the Pirates having a worse record. And this would be for the first overall pick in the January draft, not the June draft. Yeah, there used to be more than one draft. I'm not going to explain all the rules because they were too convoluted. Just know whoever has the worst record gets the #1 overall pick. Well, by September 24th, the Indians were the worst of the two teams, as within about a week's worth of games, the Indians had lost 6 games in a row, and the Rangers won 5 games in a row. This completely shifted the records of these two teams, and the Indians ended up with the first overall pick in the January draft. With that pick, they would select pitcher Jeff Shaw. Now, this little story is only a prologue for 2 reasons. One is the timeline doesn't really start until 1998, and I can't prove that the Rangers would have selected Shaw if they had the #1 overall spot. So the winning and losing streaks may not have mattered, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Alright, let's head to 1998. Jeff Shaw is now in his age 31 season. He entered the league as a starting pitcher, but has been a reliever for most of his career. Since signing with the Reds, he became a great reliever, even making the All-Star game in 1998. Well, he wouldn't be entering the All-Star game as a Red, because on July 4th, he would be traded to the Dodgers. Funny enough, he made his Dodgers debut in the All-Star game. The problem was that Shaw had no interest in being traded. He signed a 3-year extension with the Reds after the 1997 season, the season where he won the National League Reliever of the Year award. Shaw is from Washington Courthouse in Ohio, where he continued to live through his playing career. He took a hometown discount to stay with the Reds, so he could see his family and make the 70-mile commute from his house in Washington Courthouse. During negotiations, Shaw asked for a no-trade clause, considering he would be playing for under market value. But general manager Jim Bowden wouldn't add the clause. Well, Shaw said that he and Bowden had a handshake deal that Shaw would not be traded. But Bowden said he would have to trade him if the deal of a lifetime came along. So what was the deal of a lifetime? Shaw was traded for 21-year-old reliever Dennis Reyes and Baseball America's #2 prospect of 1998, Paul Konerko. Shaw wasn't happy, but at the end of the day, Bowden believed he had made the deal of a lifetime. Well, after being in Cincinnati for half a year, the 22-year-old Konerko was traded to the White Sox for 25-year-old outfielder Mike Cameron, who just endured a sophomore slump. Both of these guys played well with their new teams in 1999, but Cameron would be gone very soon. Mariners superstar Ken Griffey Jr. was poised to enter free agency following the 2000 season, after declaring his desire to play closer to his family in Orlando. Griffey ended up being traded to the Reds for a package that included Mike Cameron. He would play 4 seasons in Seattle, winning 2 Gold Gloves in center field and earning an All-Star appearance in 2001. But like many star players in Seattle, Cameron left and joined a bigger market. He signed with the New York Mets prior to the 2004 season on a 3-year deal. The Mets now have an elite defensive center fielder in his prime. Cameron became a power hitter in his first year in New York, hitting 30 home runs for the first and only time in his career. Although his defensive production in center field severely diminished. In response, the Mets made a bit of a splash in free agency. They signed all-star center fielder Carlos Beltran to a 7-year deal, which would become the biggest free agent signing in Mets history. Beltran may be the new superstar center fielder, but Cameron wasn't too thrilled with having to move to right field. Beltran had been given the ability to dictate which position he played. During spring training, Beltran said when a center fielder calls, you have to get out of the way. In response, Cameron said he wouldn't change the way he plays. In a prior interview, Cameron credited his play in center field to his quick first step and his ability to read the ball off the sound it makes off the bat. But also, he was willing to go all out on a play as he was not concerned with consequences. So, considering there were 2 outfielders with center field mindsets, something was bound to happen. Well, on August 11th, 2005, in what was one of the worst collisions in baseball history, Cameron and Beltran both dived at the ball and crashed into each other at full speed. Beltran was able to walk away and played most of the season, but Cameron was carted off and didn't play another game for the Mets. Ironically enough, Cameron was traded after the 2005 season to the Padres, where he would win his 3rd and final Gold Glove award as the Padres center fielder. Beltran's overall tenure with the Mets was great. Well, excluding that random tenure after the 2019 season that only lasted a few months. Not too sure what that was about. Anyway, by 2011, Beltran was in the last year of his contract, and his defense was declining, so he had to move to right field. Well, this news was 5 years too late for Mike Cameron because he was in Boston at this point. As for Beltran, he was traded to the Giants prior to the trade deadline in exchange for pitching prospect Zack Wheeler, the number 6 overall pick in the 2009 draft, and a top 50 prospect heading into 2011. Prior to his debut in 2013, Wheeler had turned into one of the best pitching prospects in the minor leagues. Well, unfortunately, Wheeler's tenure with the Mets was a bit shaky. After a couple of decent seasons, Wheeler needed Tommy John surgery just prior to the start of the 2015 season. Although some setbacks meant that he wouldn't return until 2017. He started 17 games in 2017, but he would be shut down after throwing only 86 innings. In 2018 and 2019, Wheeler was able to showcase his true talent on a season-long basis, convincing the Phillies to take a chance on him by offering a 5-year deal worth $118 million. 2020 would be Wheeler's best season yet, and I'm very interested to see how he performs throughout the duration of his contract. But of course, the story doesn't end there. After Wheeler signed with the Phillies, the Mets received a compensation pick, which they would use to select Isaiah Green at number 69 overall. A notable player coming out of the highly praised Mets 2020 draft class. Green is the kind of toolsy, speedy center fielder that you hope develops a great bat along with the fielding skill. Well, his tenure in the Mets organization would not last long. as he was a piece in the deal that brought Francisco Lindor to New York. Green may not have been the centerpiece in the deal, but he's certainly the type of guy that could be the best player the Indians receive in the deal. But of course, he still has to develop those skills. As for the Mets, they now have one of the best players in baseball for the next decade, and it all stemmed from the supposed deal of a lifetime back in 1998. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and leave your butterfly effect scenario in the comments. Subscribe to Raving Sports, and check out my channel, SportStorm. Thanks for watching.